Hello. So today is the first time I want to talk about being off the grid. This is not a gardening video. Uh, it's basically how I live and what my solar setup is, how I get water, how I cook with a stove, and I guess how I essentially got into this type of thing. Let's just start with the solar setup. We had an elaborate plan when we moved, and that was to get a kitted out solar system and run a freezer, and that would almost be it. Now, we did make the mistake of not doing that, but we also made a mistake by trying to do that because it was just us jumping straight into it. Instead, what we did was we started with a small kit. So at the moment, and we still have it after nearly 4 years, we have 3 solar panels, and they are 170 watts each, I think 10 amps each, and they are 12 volts. They are run in a parallel sequence, so this just means, from what I understand, you run the positive wires together and then you run the negative wires together. With these solar panels, they came with MC4 connectors, which means my understanding is it's just this clip thing that you connect everything together, but to me it's the wiring's already done, it's already in these clips, so you don't need to wire these bare cables together. And so I've got the positive to positive on each solar panel, and then I've got the negative to the negative on each solar panel with the MC4 connectors, which came on the solar panels, and then they are all wired into a regulator. Now, I don't have what you would call a professional regulator, I guess. I have one of those goofy novelty brands, and it's kick-ass. Now, they could be reputable, and they're not like a Victron or anything. They're not like a professional in sounding, or whatever you want to call it. I can't remember what type of regulator it is, MPPT or the other one, I don't know. Anyway, it's a big one, and it takes, I think, 40 amps and up to probably 500, 600 watts. I'm still learning, and I do want to double up my kit without buying a new giant regulator. I want to try and connect the two together, which I found out is possible, because I do want to test a freezer. There's a lot of stuff online that is really difficult to find when it comes to a freezer. And the one question, and I'd love to do a video on it, is what the surge is, or what the highest voltage or wattage it produces when it's starting to cool the freezer or make the freezer work, because it takes time, and online it doesn't give you a specific time of how long it takes to actually get up. Some say 24 hours, some say 3 hours, some say an hour, 2 hours. It doesn't really confirm anything, and that would be something to do a video on if I succeed. Now, the other thing I would like to do with the freezer is only run it for 8 to 12 hours a day and then shut it off. Now, I am doing this with a fridge, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, that's the end goal, and I feel like it was better for us to make mistakes and learn than to jump in. But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with jumping in. If you can jump in, do it, and be successful at it, and then go with it. Because if you don't rip the band-aid off, you probably never get it done, and that's probably what happened with me. Anyway, so we got the 3 solar panels. They're in the kick-ass regulator. They're connected to 2 100 amp hour batteries. Now I've had to try and research, and this has been pure luck, that those 2 are actually good enough for my setup. When we first tried to do this, we bought the 3 solar panels, but we purchased 2 170 amp hour batteries, deep cycle batteries. And the problem with that is those solar panels weren't enough to charge it, so there would be a lot of discharge, and which ultimately could destroy your batteries or cause them to like explode or whatever. That's a bit dramatic, but yeah. So I ended up selling those, being confused as hell, and then there was already a battery here, I think, which was 100 amp hours. It came with the house, and there was one that we had years ago when we first started. The thing lights up and it tells you the voltage and how it all works, and we haven't really had an issue with it. I'm hanging out for it to continue on. I know that, well, I hope that by the time we upgrade, we by the time we upgrade, nothing goes wrong with the system. I've already got it in mind that I might need new batteries at some point. The solar panels should last a long while, and I've got to sort of try and get another 3. I want to double up. I want to just double up, because those 3 have been perfect this whole time, and doubling up just, it will make that perfect amount, I suppose, because we've been able to charge a lot of things, and I don't think people realize you can charge a lot of things on a small system. And so let's get back to the solar panels again. So we have 3 times 170 watt solar panels, which is 300, 37, 21, so 510 watts for an hour. Now they say it's supposed to run for 4 hours a day, so you only get 4 hours of sunlight. That's just to be fair. That's just to be reasonable with it. So that equals 2,040 watts, and then you got to give 20% discharge or something like that. It's something I'm not. Yeah, you give it 20%, so you lose a few hundred, so it comes down a bit. My system will be like 1,700 or 1,600 watts, probably a bit more than that. I don't know. I can't do the maths in my head right now, but yeah. We get a lot of sun out here, so that's a bonus. And also, the solar panels aren't in the perfect spot. I don't know if I could get more out of it if I just put them in a perfect spot. But essentially, we have this little shed thing, which is our bathroom, and on the, what is it, the north side or something, I think it is, the solar panels are facing, while the sun rises on the south, I believe. Just what I've been told. I have no fucking clue about this type of thing. So it rises that way, and then goes over, and it takes a little while to get to the other side, I suppose. So I guess it might be missing half the day. I'm not sure. And I think people have said it's more about temperature as well, as opposed to the sun being directly on it. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel confident in the system at the moment. There's a few things that are probably really dodgy that people will tell me to change. Like, I think I'm supposed to put fuses in between something or other of my solar panels, just to help with, like, it shuts it off or something. It's just a safer thing or something. I don't know what. Anyway, I don't know, but I'll consider that as well. So if I do double it up, it'll be like about 3.5 watts a day. So what's that, a 3.5 kilowatt system, which should be more than enough to run a freezer. And I've been eyeing off a specific freezer, which is it's from Harvey Norman. Oh man, Hisense or something. It runs at 83 watts an hour, whereas the fridge we use now, I think, is about 50 watts. We tried to use our fridge freezer as a freezer, and this is a King's fridge freezer, mind you, not like a different brand that's supposed to be like a domestic fridge. This is a King's. We were using that for a while as a freezer, and then one day everything just went wrong, and the freezer stopped working in it, and I thought we broke it. But I pinpointed it to the solar panels not having the ability to charge the batteries, causing the batteries to discharge dramatically, which I think is probably accurate, because that extra 140 amp hours for this system, I would have probably needed double the amount of solar panels plus a couple more, I reckon, just to charge those batteries. I don't know if the batteries I got now could use a little bit more. And so yeah, the King's fridge, we stopped using it for a while and we switched to an ice box. But you can imagine you have to keep buying ice, and that could cost like $50 a week, which is pretty bad. If you like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Then the system became something where we just charged devices. Up until recently, where I decided, okay, I'm just going to run the fridge again. There was another reason why I didn't like to run the fridge, because we stored it in our bathroom. What ended up happening is I would get headaches through the night. You can hear the fridge running, humming, all sorts of fucked up noises coming from the bathroom, and every night I would just get an extreme headache. And then we switched it off and all the headaches would go away. And then I thought one day I'll try it again. And then I got headaches again. So ended up moving it out and saying, no, I don't want the fridge anymore. And then storing it away and saying, no, I can't do it anymore. And then you say, how did we do it? Well, we went without a fridge for a while, and then we just bought what we needed from the shop, and then we just eat it that day or whatever it was. And then eventually we used an ice box and then stored all our stuff then, and now we're back to the fridge. So the first time we power it up like a sunny day like today, I guess, and then we leave it on and it will go from like 18 or something, and then it will come back to about 4 degrees or a little bit less than that. It'll take a while to actually start up. So then we did that, and then when everything was in the fridge and starting to become cold, we eventually turned it off. And so it would start like early morning. We turn it on, so like 6 or 7 in the morning, 5, 6 or 7 in the morning, we turn it on. Then we shut it off around 5, 6 at night. I mean, that sounds a lot like 12 hours, doesn't it? Yeah, I suppose, rather than 8 hours. And then we shut it off, and what happens is all the stuff that's cold in the fridge, it will keep everything cold. And then you should wake up and it'll be around 5 or 4 degrees. Sometimes it's off, like it's 8 or 6 or 9 or 10 or whatever. That's primarily because we don't have enough stuff in there to keep it cold, probably. For it to stay cold overnight, but that's our method, and we've never had anything wrong with that method. I'd prefer to do that than leave it on at night. It seems so unnecessary to actually keep using it at night. I used to use a multimeter to just check everything every once in a while. I've been slack with that. I primarily trust the regulator, and that's not necessarily the the best idea, because your batteries could be, discharging, or anything could be wrong. But usually it tells me. But yeah, need to work on that one too. I try to not let the system go below 12.5 volts. I get worried when it goes below 12.3. I don't know if that's normal to worry about that, but at night, if we want to watch something or use it for anything, let's say 6, 7, 8, or 9 at night or something like that, I guess as long as it stays at 12.9 and only goes down to like 12.6, then it's alright. But I try to aim for the 12.7, 12.8, 12.9 at night time, so that by 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning it's fine enough for me to turn that fridge on again and feel comfortable in everything working the next day. This is just a comfort thing for me, and I'm still able to do what I do, and that's charge devices. Okay, so it was like 5 or 6 years ago. We were living in a rental in the suburbs, and one day I just really got annoyed at something, and just said, I can't deal with all the mess in the house. I can't deal with all this stuff that we have and own, and it's just taking up garage space. It's filling up the house. What is going on here? And then talked with my partner, and then we worked it out. And then slowly we got rid of all this trash and all this stuff. We got skips and all that sort of thing. Got rid of all that stuff. And eventually we noticed that the power bill was going away and the electric bill was going away. But that was all in the plan. So the idea was to get rid of all this stuff that was basically costing too much. Back then we were using the shower 3 times a day per person, which is a lot of gas. The gas stove. We had 2 large fish tanks. I had my gaming PC. I had all this technology. We had a PlayStation 3. We had a TV. We had power tools. We had an abundance of stuff, which, if I can remember, every quarter it was costing us $240. So for every 3 to 4 months it was $240. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot if you break it down per week, but per year, if you think about it, and you have rates, like we have rates now, land tax, having that per year, it's a lot of money. So we got rid of that, and the gas. The gas costed about, I think combined it was $240, gas and power, but I don't know if it was like both, like $240 each one. It's quite possible. And then every so often we'd get a water bill, which was like $120 or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I had this plan laid out, and it was a 5-year plan to save money in cash and essentially buy something. So it was to reduce all the bills to basically zero and work out how to do that. And the way we did that is we decided to just get rid of our rental, purchase a caravan, and figure out what to do. Well, we were sort of left in a situation where we didn't know what to do once the rental was gone. We were paying off a caravan. We went to my parents because we didn't know where to go, what to do, because we'd never done it before. We had 2 children. One was like 2 months old, and one was like a couple years old, I think. Yep. And we went to my parents for a week, and then we left and went to her parents, which we stayed there for a very short time, so like a month. And then for some reason we went to a caravan park and paid $150 a week, which was like, I don't know, $60 less than the rental in the suburbs. And then we ended up putting the caravan in storage and then going up north in Queensland, where I worked, then she worked, and then we were back in a rental again, and the rental was $280 a week, whereas the caravan park was $150 and the rental was $215 a week in the other one. Like, that was a big problem for me because I was trying to get us to change our lifestyle, but her family, there was a family member who just wanted to help us because they were worried and didn't know what we were doing and why we were doing that. I liked it up north, but also I just didn't like living in an apartment. That was a big no for me. That was a biggest, grossest switch from just having a backyard to having nothing. And then you have to force yourself to go outside and do all these things. But, granted, we ended up saving all this money living there because her family member helped us pay the rent because he asked us up there. Eventually we started paying the rent ourselves. The closest store was a very short walk away. Didn't have to put much fuel in the car. And we purchased a gas bottle and a stove. And the gas, you only need a refill every 3 to 4 months. And that's a 9 kilo gas bottle. Because there's a balance between cooking the food and then just going and making rolls or sandwiches or something else. We didn't use any electricity. We used no gas. Like no gas that was in the apartment. The water was free, because that's what it's like up there in an apartment or a certain type of an apartment. It was warm enough that we didn't even need to have hot showers at all. We didn't need a fridge or anything like that because the stores were down the road. So this led us to be able to save heaps and heaps and heaps of money. And by the time we left, like 4 or 5 months later, we had a fair chunk of money. And then we moved back, and then we got our caravan out of storage, and then we started living on her parents'. No, hang on, we were in a caravan park for a while, a different one, which was near her parents. We paid for that. That was I think $20 a night without electricity. When we started out, we had a little grey battery, 40 amp hours, and a 150 watt solar panel. We had no idea what we were doing at all. And we had a 150 watt inverter, that's right. It was just for our devices, and we didn't really know what we were doing at all. We ended up moving from that caravan park to a different block of land, and we only paid $50 a week for that. And then we were there for 5 months, and then we were told to leave because we weren't allowed to be there. Well, we were told to leave by the council because someone apparently reported us, but whatever. And then we ended up going to our families again for many months more. Then we saved heaps of money, and then we ended up looking at a property, and then we ended up getting something. We had to work it all out ourselves. It became this thing of I have to figure out how to repair my own car, like basic repairs, maintenance for the house, maintenance for the yard, figure it all ourselves, because if you decide to pay for all this, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Now, one of the first things we did do was got a dog. Literally within a month of living here, we got chickens straight away, and well, we haven't stopped having chickens. There was a point where I wanted to get rid of them, but now I just keep them around. The gardening thing is sort of something that is taking a while to click in and learn. The seasons here are very strange and they're all over the place, and I can't pinpoint when to start growing certain things. And I'm trying to switch my method and run with it. There's another problem that occurs, and that is like pests. Now, earwigs have been one pest. I haven't seen them in a while. It could just be because it's hot summer. I don't know. This season's been very odd. Like the start of summer was sort of wet and weird, and everything was growing, and there were no pests around. I hate using that word. There were no things around to eat my garden or anything like that. So I keep trying and trying and trying. And right now, all I'm trying to do is grow heaps and heaps and stuff. Because I think I've read somewhere that the more stuff you have, the more there is for nature, and not all of it gets destroyed. There is one major problem that occurs, and that is being surrounded by farmland. And the one thing that hasn't been happening lately, all summer I'd say, is harvesting or growing, I believe, or at least half of the summer. We are surrounded by farmland, and they all grow pretty much the same thing. And whenever they grow it, all these pests live in there. And then whenever they cut it, those things come and scatter to neighbouring properties and pretty much start to wreak havoc to the point where you need to go out of your way to pay to actually remove these things. I want a permanent solution for that, but who knows. Now, I wouldn't mind actually going and travelling in a van again. It is extremely difficult with children. Worries are I won't have my crops. I won't be able to eat the way I want to eat without having to pay for it, because I'm trying to be efficient and just live off the land, bring it all back to the way it's supposed to be, which is it's difficult. I've pretty much only just started learning how to compost, or at least trying to successfully do it. In the past, I guess most of the things I've been doing is trying to use the compost early. I mean, it is hard, like for me anyway. The water is bore water, which we do have to pay for, and it's not a good fee. Like the service fee is nearly $100 each time. Amount per kilowatt is cheap, so it's like $1 a kilo. Did I say kilowatt? Kiloliter. Fuck off. $1 a kiloliter. And sometimes you don't use that much water, but you still have to pay $96 for the service, which is ridiculous. And I believe in my rates notice, I'm taxed for my water tanks too, which is also just silly. And that's how we get our water, and the power is the solar panels. We haven't signed up to a bin service. The house didn't have a bin service with it, so we did not use the bin service. We've found alternative ways to actually, get rid of our rubbish. Gas, we used to have 2 45 kilogram gas bottles, but they want you to pay rent for them, and that was about, I think, $90 a year or something like that. And then you'd pay $300 for both gas bottles to be filled. It sounds good, but I can't deal with that fee to rent a thing when you can go out and swap and go a 9 kilo bottle, and the only amount you're paying is $30. And if you're smart about how much gas you use rather than how much you think you need, you're actually saving money. The 2 gas bottles would last over a year, I would say so. If you're not using them for a shower or anything like that, then yeah. But if you're not, then yeah, it's going to cost a lot more. So for the shower, we use a gas bottle, a 9 kilo gas bottle, and a portable shower unit. We're going to put a permanent one in eventually, but right now there's no need for us to do that. For the stove, we did have a big stove, a big white stove built into the house. We got rid of all that stuff and switched to a little oven thing with another 9 kilo gas bottle. That's all I've got today. Toodaloo.